Welcome, everyone, to today's meeting, Monday, February 10th, 2025. I now call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey.
Present.
District 2, Councilmember Vieira.
Present.
District 3, Councilmember Otero.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Martinez.
Present.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Please stand for the invocation by Jerry Swain from the New Vision Christian Center, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, sir.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you and we praise you today. We thank you for these council members. We thank you for our mayor. Lord, we ask you, Lord, to lead this meeting in the direction you'd have it to go. Give us wisdom and knowledge to make the right decisions for this city. And we give you the praise and the glory in your wonderful name. Amen.
We will now move on to presentations. Let's have the City Council please go up to the podium. This presentation is for Black History Month proclamation, and the recipient will be Renee Crawford from the NAACP. February is recognized as Black History Month, a time to honor rich history, culture, and contributions of the Black Americans who have shaped our nation through their resilience, achievements, and enduring spirit. And whereas during the 1960s, this week-long recognition expanded into Black History Month, I told you should have ran this by me before. Aligning with the February birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln to highlight their impact on the fight of freedom and equality. And whereas in 1986, Congress passed Public Law 99-202244, officially designating February as National Black Afro-American History Month, and encouraging all Americans to honor this vital aspect of our nation's heritage. And whereas Black History Month celebrates the contributions of Black Americans throughout all periods of USA history. And whereas observing Black History Month provides a vital opportunity to deepen our understanding of history, reflects our ongoing struggle for equality and justice, and celebrates the achievements of those who paved the way for a more inclusive society. And whereas we must honor the men and women who sacrifice our unwavering dedication to civil rights, freedom, equality, continue to inspire generations of enriched American culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Javier Lopez, Mayor of the City of Ceres, on behalf of the City Council, Vice Mayor Daniel A. Martinez, Council Member James Casey, Rosalinda L. Vieira, and Serena Otero, do hereby proclaim February as 2025 as Black History Month. I urge all residents of Ceres to celebrate and draw inspiration from this rich legacy as we strive together towards equality, liberty, and opportunity for all. Congratulations. Any comments?
On behalf of the NAACP, I do accept this award. Thank you.
Take a quick look. And now we have a website update presentation by our IT manager, John Frederick, and he will give us a presentation. Where's this gentleman at? Where's he hiding? There you are. It's all you, sir.
All right. Good evening, Council and Mayor. Just a quick presentation. We are launching a new redesign of the city website soon. There we go. We get a redesign every 36 months on our current contract. So this is going to be the new launch. It will be here in the next couple of weeks. We will be launching the new website. Let's see. Our goals on this update were to make it easier to navigate and simpler, to get rid of some of the busyness on the website, to make it easier to use, especially on mobile devices. So let's see. We're going to have the city's social media links in a large button in the top corner for ease of navigation. But the big feature, we are changing the domain name for all of our online presence in order to comply with AB 1637, where all government communications must come from a domain name ending in .gov. We applied for and were approved to use series.gov by the federal government. So with the launch of the new website, we will be moving the website to series.gov instead of the hard to remember and communicate ci.series.ca.us. Also, the menus at the top of the page freeze now. So as you scroll down, they're always there for you to click on to change to a different page or to find another department. And the icons have been made larger and clearer to see, especially for mobile devices. And so just a quick update to let everybody know, any old bookmarks, links, anything like that, they will still work. They'll take you to the new site. Any old email addresses that you have still work. Your email will still get to the right person. And I can take any questions from the council or public.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, is there a way for people to go to our website and sign up for email blasts to get every communication, city council meeting, planning commission meeting, any sort of event that the Parks Department's having currently? Is that something that we already do currently?
Yeah, there are a couple of signups for email newsletters and things like that. It is per department, but that is something we can set up.
Thank you.
Any additional comments from? We'll go to the public. Any members of the public have any comments or questions on this item?
Dave Pratt of Series. I see you're updating this, but are you improving your apps on that you can report issues out there, or are they still hard to use? They keep locking up, or they won't do what you ask of them?
That's actually a different platform.
It's the same thing because you're still trying to communicate with Series.
No, it's actually two different platforms. We'll take your suggestions if you have any for improvements. Thank you, Pratt. Appreciate that.
John Warren, City of Series. Now that Mr. Pratt mentioned that, and I was speaking with Sam earlier, the My Series app is really not user-friendly, is what Dave was referring to. He would be someplace in town trying to take a picture of something, and it would give him the street address on the street over because he's behind the building and there's no street address there. So it makes it hard to navigate the app, take a picture, turn it in. The biggest complaint I've had with that app, and I've expressed it to several different people, is that you cannot delete an entry once it's completed. Let's just say I find a pile of trash on the side of the road and I want to let the city know that it's there. It's on my phone forever, unless I delete the app and get rid of it. And then anything else I might have on that app that's still active, I would lose as well. The original app that came out with the city you could go in and you could delete an application, a pile of trash, an old house, whatever the problem was. Once it was resolved and it was taken care of, you just went in to delete it and went on with your life, and things were a lot easier. You cannot do that now, okay? And that's why I will not use that app. Everybody says use the app. I don't want that stuff on my phone forever. There's no reason for it to be there. The city needs to get a hold of whoever they deal with and try to fix that feature. I'm sure there's a lot of other cities or a lot of their applications that would appreciate that. Once the issue is resolved, there's no reason for us out here. On the city's end of it, on the police department's end, they may want to keep that record because it's part of their system and an action they took within the city. But for the citizen, the end user out here, we don't need to keep that stuff on there forever. And that's what I think Dave was complaining about is one of the hardest things is negotiating with that app. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Ward, the app is separate from the website, but fully noted to whatever you just said. Excuse me, if we can just take those notes down. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Is there any other members of the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Just a presentation, right? No motions? John? All right. Let's move on to citizens' communications. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopt the rules allow no more than 5 minutes, Resolution 2007-106, for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking any action on any matters which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address City Council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Anyone wishing to address City Council must adhere to the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted outside of the chamber doors. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak during citizens' communications? Please step up.
Why not? All right, so basically couldn't talk about the apps on your website. So let's talk about the apps on your cell phone when you want to try to let the city know that they got issues all over the place. One time I tried to use it because the bricks were coming out right down here at the corner down there, and I had to wait till one of the meetings before I could let somebody know that they had an issue with the bricks coming out. Anyways, I know the mayor didn't want another chicken place in Ceres, but since how one of them closed down, I don't see why we can't get another chicken place in Ceres. Not everybody wants to eat Mexican food. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Any other additional comments? Or other members?
Well, I said I wasn't going to complain. And
Welcome.
you guys know me. My name is Jose Magana. And I received the letter for the carports. And I know we closed this issue, but I received it on Thursday. And they gave me until Sunday to take the carport out. How am I going to do that? That's like 3 days. I thought when we talked here in the meeting, the last meeting, we were going to get an extension or something like that to help out. You guys were going to see if we can get an extension to get it out. And I just found out some of them that got written up, they gave them some extension, but I just want to find out what do we have to do to extend it so we can give some time to take it out. And also, I went around and started doing an investigation, and I asked for to find out how many people got written up on the citation. And it's only 4 that got written up. There's 832 carports out there, and you guys only wrote, Jeff only wrote 4. You guys voted to not change it, to enforce it, and he hasn't done the job. If he can't do the job, maybe find somebody that can do the job. I know that we already found out how many carports out there. We got a little committee going, and I told you guys there was going to be I said open a can of worms. We're going to go out there, and we're going to be getting you guys a lot of names. And you guys have to, if you take one down, you guys are going to have to take all of them down. And I agreed to take mine off We got to be fair. We just can't say, oh, I'm going to take his off, but I'm not going to take his off. There's a place and a house where there's two houses together. One got written up and the other one didn't get written up. Now that's not right. If you're going to write one up, write everybody up. If you want to take one down, take all of them down. I'm taking mine down. I already, as a matter of fact, they're doing it this week. But we already have a committee that's going to go around, and we're going to. I feel sorry for. I mean, we're not. I know you guys are busy and everything. That's the last thing you guys want on your mind. But it's not right. I just want to let you guys know that there's actions. We're going to take actions, and you guys are going to see us a lot in the city. You're going to say, "Oh, here he comes again." He said he was not going to complain. But we got to be fair. And that's.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
I don't speak English, but I'm agree with him. I don't want to take up my porch, and I notice no you don't do it for everybody. That's why I'm not agreeing.
Thank you. Next person.
Uniquely serious. I wasn't here at the last meeting. Was on Zoom, but something didn't go right. I want to commend everyone that made that decision, even though it was a discussion for the carport / awnings, whatever you want to call them, in the city. I think the council did the right thing. And I want to thank Leah there for all her work she put in to help the council. She's a different asset that Ceres has probably not had in a long, long time. And one of these days I'll learn how to pronounce her last name. These people behind us, I want to thank them too, because they got involved. They thought that they could change something, although for them, it was a want and a need, but it didn't benefit the rest of the city. And I think it would be nice if they kept coming for other issues besides that one. The gentleman that said he's taking his down, he's doing the right thing. He needs to get other people to follow suit. Code enforcement, if you've come here long enough at the council meetings, you know that they're short-staffed all the time. I don't know how they're going to take care of this unless they split up in quadrants in the city and attack one geographical area at a time. We got supposedly 4 districts now for voting. Take one of those districts and just flood it and get rid of all the problems right there with these awnings they're going to take down, and then go to another district and then another until we get them all out. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to make people mad because, you know, of the time factor. Some people get a little bit more time because they can't get to them, you know, to serve a notice and stuff. But I think they did the right thing for the city. The people that have the awnings, I feel bad for them. But there was one gentleman that I talked to several meetings back. He happened to have his home on the front page of the Ceres newspaper. I explained to him that nobody likes rules, but we have rules for every city that we live in. And sometimes we just have to abide by them. And he told me, he goes, you know, if I would have went to the department over there for permits, I wouldn't be in this position today. And that's the way it is. You know, when you're in a city, people just have assumption that things can happen because of that old category of, I own a home now. I own a home, so that's my property. That's my piece of the rock. This is what I worked for all my life, and I understand that. But you just have to have some rules. They're more relaxed if you know anything about city ordinances and county ordinances. They're a little bit more relaxed than just about anywhere in America when you live on county land. So a lot of people can't afford that, I understand. But then they have to make means to make everything work for the codes that we have. Thank everybody for it was that particular thing was supposed to be discussion only, but it almost sounded like it was a voting thing, but I understood how it transpired at the end. And again, thank you and everyone that had something to do with that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Right, my name is Dalton Planda, City of Ceres. I've lived here most of my life. I went away to college and then I moved back. And just to piggyback on the carport thing, I believe the argument is made that these are not allowed for uniformity of the city or uniformity of the neighborhood or something. As somebody who's lived here for 30 or been here, maybe not lived here 35 years of my life, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that there's no uniformity in any amount of city sites or neighborhood appearances. So I think the fact that not only are these people being unfairly targeted for their carports, if we actually get an objective mind here, you can go around, it takes about 5 minutes to see absolute eyesores in every neighborhood of this city. And yet you guys are targeting actually very nice carports. In fact, ours has actually been hit by a tree. Our neighbors got rid of a giant tree. It hit our carport, still standing up. So, these are not flimsy. I walk my dogs around Smyrna Park almost every day. There's houses with beat up cars in their front yard. There's mismatched fences. There's these terrible white picket fences that look awful. And then, there's people that actually put in the money and the time and the effort to make their house look nice. So I think the argument here is ridiculous. And I just want to let that made. I mean, you hear nothing but horror stories online of living in things like HOAs and things like that. We don't have to go through that in Ceres. We have the ability to have a little bit more agency over our property. And I think that it's unfair for the city of Ceres to not only target nice things, but in the grounds, on unfair grounds of uniformity of, making the city look amazing or something. Because guess what? There's a lot of eyesores around the city. So let's have a little bit of a more rational opinion about this thing and let's look at it a little more clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in person? Anybody on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom and no emails received.
Thank you very much. We'll now close citizens' communications. Is there anybody on the council who'd like to declare a conflict of interest? Okay. Moving on to appointments and boards and commissions. Planning Commission appointment. Community Development Director Leo will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor. With the election of former Planning Commission Chair Serena Otero to the City Council, we had another vacancy on the Planning Commission. So a subcommittee was chosen at the December 9th meeting of Councilmember Otero and Councilmember Martinez, or Vice Mayor Martinez, I'm sorry. The recruitment period ran from December 18th, 2024 through January 21st, 2025. We received 7 interested parties. Interviews were held on February 4th, where 6 individuals showed up and were interviewed. And today, the committee will be presenting their choices for consideration of mayor and council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will start off with Serena.
Thank you, Mayor. So my top 3 choices were Kelly Cerny, Ishwar Gill, and John Warren.
Mr. Martinez, is this something that you guys agreed upon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to say thank you to everybody that had come out and interviewed. I know one applicant wasn't able to make it, and I also want to make sure that I thank Ann Montgomery for being there the whole evening with us. My understanding was we went through the standard process. We had our interview packet. When we left the room, we had agreed that my number 1 was Brett Silvera, and tied for number 1 with her was Kelly Cerny and Brett Silvera. So that was my understanding. That was number 1. Kelly was my number 3. So we were bringing to the council tonight that we did not have an agreement on who to appoint, and we were going to let the council decide. But my understanding when we left that room, was that Kelly Cerny was my 3 and was tied with Brett Silvera as number 1 for Serena, and Brett was my number 1.
And we did have one in common, which was Ishwar Gill. I do want to note that, in going through this was my first time sitting on the panel. And in going through the process, I saw that there was 7 residents that applied. And it shows that there are people that are interested in serving on some of our committees or appointments. Looking at the questions, depending on Vice Mayor's perspective, depending on my perspective, a question answered for me may have been differently answered for him. So my suggestion is that we select someone that is going to get an opportunity to serve in this capacity. And I also have, just for the future, just for us to keep in mind, I don't see a reason why we can't do interviews publicly. I think so that way all of us are up here together, hearing the interviewees and possibly looking at appointing an alternate.
Any comments from the council on this side? Okay, Mr. Casey, if you're confused, please ask your question, sir. The other mic, sir. Sorry. Go ahead.
What I said is I'm confused. I don't have a question. I'm just confused.
What
are we supposed to do next?
So you don't have any specific questions? You're just not sure?
Yeah, I don't have a question.
Okay, so you don't have any questions on the clarification?
Yeah, apparently, Vice Mayor made a point that he left the meeting thinking something. Councilperson Serena from District 3 left thinking something else. So we're here tonight to decide on what. What council member or vice mayor left the meeting thinking, or what? I'm confused. There's 5 people that have been named. Is that right? Or 4 people?
6 people.
No, I'm talking about, she chose 3, you chose 2. Right?
So
My number 1 leaving the room was Brett, tied for number 1 with Councilmember Otero was also Brett. So I thought we'd be appointing based on the grading sheet like we have in the past, the number 1 person we interviewed. Granted, yes, I understand some of the questions are opinion based, but at the end of the day, our results showed that Brett was 1 for her and 1 for me as well, sir.
And I'd like to add to that, I don't think the rating sheet was effective. Kelly, Cerny, and Brett did tie on mine, and I selected Kelly as my number 1. The one that we had in common was Ishwar Gill. So I was under the assumption, and I've served on many interview panels, that we would both agree on the second one that we had in common.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brett Silvera to the Planning Commission vacancy.
I will second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Casey,
I abstain.
Councilmember Vieira,
I also don't think I have enough information to make a vote, so I'm going to abstain as well.
Councilmember Otero,
No.
Vice Mayor Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion fails.
Okay, with that, then I will go ahead and make a motion to appoint Ishwar Gill to this position.
I'll second that.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Otero,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez,
No.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 3-2.
Is Ishmael in the room today? No, I'm sorry if I don't know why I said Ishmael. It's Ishwar. Is Mr. Gill in the room today? Online?
I do not see him online.
Okay, Mr. Gill, congratulations. You've been appointed to the Planning Commission. Moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed in the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be acted upon by a roll call vote. Now, just for clarification, there has been an amendment on attachment C for agenda item number 7 related to the limited and a limited portion of the page for the agreement. Now, is there anyone on the council who'd like to pull an item for further discussion? Vice Mayor Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull item number 5.
Councilmember Otero?
I'd like to pull number 7, please.
Councilmember Casey?
Item 13.
There's no 13, sir. But that's the public hearing, remember?
13.
Down below, it's a council member referrals. Are you talking about 12 or, because 12 is the last item on the consent calendar.
Excuse me.
Okay, no worries. Bring this back for a motion?
Sorry. You did pull 12?
No, he did not.
You did. I'll pull 12 as well, please.
Okay. Bring this item back for a motion?
Make a motion to approve items 1 through 4, 6, 8, or 6 and 8 through 11 of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Aye.
Councilmember Vieira,
Aye.
Councilmember Otero,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Martinez.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item number 5. Mr. Vice Mayor, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Acting Chief, I just had a couple of questions about item 5. I know it's grant money that goes towards overtime and equipment. I was wondering, does this also cover when we have like the site team in the cities as well?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for the question. No, the site team is actually run through the local agencies. It's not through the grant.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that was it? Oh, sweet. Want to go back for a motion? Unless there's,
Mayor, we
sorry, I
did
take that back. Rules say I need to go to the public. Sir, go ahead.
Genie Akeley series. I happen to once in a while read the complete staff report. I did read this about the grant for the money for traffic enforcement. You know, it is what it is, what you get from the state or the county. I realize that. But it depicted something like 80 hours. I mean, we can use that. I guess they're going to get a vehicle too in this grant that we can use later for whatever purposes. But this 80 hours, it really, it broke down what they can use it for. But my question is can we use it for more than one item? I mean, not more than one item. Can we use a majority of or more than part of a certain amount? They didn't say the amounts that can go to those categories, 10 hours, so many hours, this and that. And in series, amongst all the other issues and problems we have, is the traffic issue with people running stop signs and all these issues with that. They don't want to stop. Can we put in this 80 hours, this grant, can we put more money in the overtime on that purpose and then go to the other areas? I mean, one of them should highlight more than the other, and it didn't explain that in the report. And the chief, give me some insight on that.
Sure. We are obligated to do certain things with the grant, like do DUI checkpoints, but we can move it around to what we need to focus on, but it is limited.
So you can put more of those hours into certain areas than others?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other additional comments on this item? Online?
There are no hands raised and no emails received.
Make a motion to approve item 5 of the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Aye.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Otero,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 7.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to thank Ms. Ledesma for her work on this item and all the work that her and the finance director have been putting in for our city. I'm just wondering, from city staff, can you explain the importance of this type of financial audit, and is this standard each year?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. With the transition between administrations, it has been challenging to maintain the day-to-day operations and fully address the occurring issues that we had from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. We are seeking assistance of a consultant to help close the books for fiscal year 23 and complete the financial audit. It will bring the city into compliance with both state and federal regulations. Due to the limited staff, the additional support provided by the consultant will be valuable and identify the root causes of any issues and implement best practices to ensure the timely completion of fiscal year 23 audit, which will also position us effectively to complete fiscal year 24 audit.
Thank you.
Mr. Casey, go ahead.
I noticed in the contract that it said that if something came up, the charges would be altered. If my memory is correct, when we chose a new person to do our audit back, a year plus ago, that the problem came up when they were trying to do the audit. We didn't cover all the bases, and so they said, well, wait a second, if you want us to do that, it's going to cost more. I'm just wondering, are we sure that we covered all the bases in this one? Because as I read the contract, it said, unless something's asked that's not been identified, then the charges would go up.
Mr. Casey, we met with the consultant multiple times to discuss the areas of support that we needed in the finance side, and they reassure us that what they included in the contract and the engagement letter was sufficient to help us finish fiscal year 23 audit.
Okay, thank you. And then the other part of the question is, when do we expect it to be completed?
Well, upon approval of this engagement letter, we'll go ahead and give them the green light that they can start helping us do some of the field work that we need to complete fiscal year 23 audit. Once we have an update, we can bring it back to council and provide you guys with an update.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any members of the community would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none. Online?
There are no hands raised and no emails received.
Wait, I take that back. There's a sparkling red button that got pushed here. Councilmember Roseland. So go ahead.
Will they also complete the paperwork? Because you had mentioned something about bringing us into compliance. Is that something that we do here? Is there a certain deadline that we have to have that compliant part submitted?
So by the work that they complete, we'll be able to complete our audit for fiscal year 23. So that would bring us in compliance for fiscal year 23 audit.
Now, is there a state deadline or anything that we have to have that submitted by, and will we be able to meet those deadlines or requirements?
Currently, we're not in compliance until we complete our audit for fiscal year 23. And that's what we're trying to work on to make sure we complete that on time.
Okay, so there's not an additional deadline that we have to meet or anything or it sounds like you already said we passed it. Okay.
Councilmember Otero.
Once again, I just want to thank you for your work that you've been doing. And I'm sure you've had a lot since you've started, so I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. We are now back for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item number 7 of the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Otero,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez, Mayor,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item number 12. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. So in looking at this item, it looks like it's going to be for a service agreement for water and wastewater rate study update. I was looking into some history of the water rates, and it looks like the last study was done in 2017 by HF&H Consultants under Resolution 2017-104, which was almost 10 years ago. And at that time, they did list some proposed rates for 10 years, but I believe currently we're probably overdue for this study, especially since the COVID pandemic seemed to change a lot of things. And then looking at our utility fee schedule, the last update was effective 1/1/22. So my question for our engineer, Mr. Beltran, how often should we review the rates so our residents are not getting large increases at once, and how can we prepare for the future?
Thank you, council member. So generally rate studies in California are done every 3 to 5 years. And this is so that we minimize the amount of increases when we look at them. We're always looking at what our operational costs are, what our capital improvement costs are, all of those types of things that go into all of the different rates that we have throughout the city. And so really every 3 to 5 years is where we should be. As you said, the water was last done in 2017. Sewer, the last time it was done was actually 2012. So we do need to update these, and generally speaking, we should be doing them every 3 to 5 years.
And one more question. I noticed there was something about water connection fees usually paid by the builders. Have we been consistent with those fee updates as well? I saw it outlined in the 2017 study.
Unfortunately, council member, we have not been consistent with those at all. So we did our last Nexus study in 2014. 2013, excuse me. We raised rates on these connection charges in 2014 per the construction cost index. Per that council resolution, we were actually supposed to raise rates, raise connection rates every year per the construction cost index. That has not happened, so our rate has actually stayed. I believe the connection rate is about $6,800 for water. It's about $6,000 for sewer. When you look at how much things have increased over the years, according to the water study, we were supposed to raise them at that point in time to about $7,600. And the current rate, if you go by the water study, should have been about $8,600. So we've really not raised our rates at all. And these connection charges that are paid by the builders when they connect, they help finance some of our infrastructure also. So not raising those rates since 2014 really puts us behind the 8 ball on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you. With the adjustment, will that bring us into compliance with state laws as well as the, I don't even know how to say the name of that decision, the SOZAR decision, as well as Prop 218?
So as far as being within state law, I mean, we should be doing them at a max every 5 years. So obviously we are outside of that at this point. The other law you reference, I'll be honest, I would have to look up what is entailed in that law. As far as Prop 218 goes along with this, the consultant will be guiding us through the Prop 218 process. So all of our residents will be notified. There's public hearings. There'll actually be a workshop that we have planned. So there's going to be lots of public outreach on this. So I believe there's at least 2 public hearings. One for the rate adoption. There's another public hearing for the 218 process. There will also be an evening workshop that we will have to schedule at some point in time with the council members and the public. that we will be taking questions, looking at the, things that the consultant has proposed, and they'll be here to answer those questions as well.
So the public will have an opportunity to make comments and address this as well, correct? It's not something that it'll go through without
Correct.
input. Thank you.
Correct.
Councilmember Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my binder, what we're discussing says item 13. That's why I tried to pull it. And we're talking about, my concern is in your thing, it talks about future development. I understand the increase, but I want us to pay for the people that are coming, pay for the major improvements that are going to be required at our wastewater plant and the water system itself. It's not fair for the people that live in Ceres right now to have to front the money for the 10,000 new homes or whatever is going to be coming in. So that's what struck my attention. And there seems to be some confusion again in the data. Again, my item says 13. This item 12, I guess, and everybody else's. And we talked about studies before, studies after, and there seems to be just a lack of correct information. There's no question we need to have good sewers, good water flow, and I think the people in Ceres understand that. But I don't think that the money should be used for the stuff in the future. And then, of course, the other question is, in this particular account, do we have a lot of money there already? Do we maintain a reserve, I guess is the right word? Do we have, in an overall budget, we have a reserve for the whole city? Do we have a reserve in this particular account? Because it's a very important account. Things, we had the water line break on Whitmore Avenue. Things can happen. So do we have this, do we have a reserve? Anyway, thank you very much. And again, I'm sorry to the citizens and to the people in the room, but my item says 13. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. I will now take this to the audience. Any members of the public would like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Warren.
Good evening. Good evening, council member and staff. The last time a study was done, Serena, you're correct, was 16 or 17. And I remember Jeremy being the gentleman that was in charge of public works at that time, was involved with that study. I wasn't sure there was an outside agency, but I assumed that there was because there generally is on all these matters. In 2017, they just did the water. Wastewater wasn't included. I don't ever remember a wastewater treatment study that was done. The last time our wastewater utility bill was increased was in 2017, and it's $59.03 a month. Prior to that, it was $56, and prior to that, it was like $53 back to December of 15. And I don't recall a study being done, but I do remember the study that involved the river water treatment facility that brought surface water to the city of Ceres and to the city of Turlock. And that's the study that was done in 16 and 17. In 2017, the flat rate for the city of Ceres for water was $20.13 a month. We paid $2 for every 1,000 gallons of usage at that time. In 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 22, there was an increase every year for those following 5 years. Currently, we pay $44.27 as a flat rate. which is basically a $24 a month increase from 2017. Our last increase was in 2022. We did not have an increase in 23. We didn't have an increase in 24. At the beginning of 25, we're only 2 years out of not having an increase in our water. And those rates in that study was for that project to be everlasting, basically, and not having to do any further increases. One of the things I learned from that study and talking to Jeremy was, number one, that our city utilities cannot make a profit. They have to charge only what it costs to provide the service for its citizens. We're not in the market to make money. Right now, it's $4.40 for every 1,000 gallons of water that you use. So it went from $2 to $4.40. It went from flat rate of $20.13 to $44.27. When you look at the email accounts and the City of Ceres web pages out there, one of the biggest concerns people complain about, and they always say, hey, my water rate is over $200 a month. They're not talking about water, they're talking about their utility bill. The total utility bill is going to be over $200. Probably when we get done building this new wastewater treatment plant, our total utility bill is going to be over $500. There's just not going to be one increase. It's going to have to be a step increase like they did with water, with the wastewater treatment plant. Like I said, right now it's $59 is what we're paying for sewage. And that's for the plant that's adequated. We're sending most of our sewage to Turlock and the rest of it to Modesto on a daily basis. And along with that, we have a garbage bill, and our garbage bill is about $36 a month. So in the summertime, if you're using 15,000 gallons of water, your bill is going to be well over $200 a month. And that's currently. So we need to keep these things in mind and try to curb as much as we can, as well as looking forward to the future and building what we need to build. When I moved here, the current wastewater treatment plant was adequate. Back in 2012, we annexed all that property on Crow's Landing Road. Supposed to have been 10,000 homes up there, but you can't build a home up there because there's no lift station for the sewage. So we do have problems. And thank you for your time. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Is there anybody else? Okay. Back to Fallon. Anybody online?
No hands raised and no emails received.
Okay, we'll come back for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item number 12 of the consent calendar.
Serena, were you going to motion? Is that what it was? Okay, sounds good. There's a motion on the table? There's a motion.
She had her button pushed. I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Otero,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Now moving down to item number 13, Mr. Councilmember Casey. This one's yours, I guess. So public hearing communication outreach. This referral was done by you January 13th, 2025.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's kind of ironic, this month we're celebrating Black History Month. Our method of communicating with people about public notices, about changes in our zone, doesn't differ much from the toll tax that our country imposed on our citizens until January 23rd, 1964. After the Civil War and the Reformation time, they made sure that people were going to vote on anything that they had the means to pay this toll tax. Well, so we sat here in the city of Ceres. We send out notices to property owners about developments, and what comes to mind real quickly to me is sometime last year, we approved, the Planning Commission approved a new self-storage place on Mitchell Road. And the notices were sent to the property owners. Well, the property owner of the mobile home park, where there's probably 300 people, got a notice. But those 300 people that live right next door where this self-storage place is going, not that they would oppose it, but at least they would have had knowledge of it. Our city and our government in general, we have minimum standards of notifications and we adhere to those things. Sometimes we don't pay attention to the whole population. So since I've been on the council, our previous city manager and the city manager we have now, I'm fortunate enough to have 2 different utility bills from the city of Atwater. Every month in the utility bill, there's a black and white newsletter that tells us what's going to happen. When they had a sewer public hearing, it was going to be in June or July of this year. The utility bill came out in March and told us about this public hearing that was going to be. So I think it's our obligation to remind all the citizens of Ceres, not just the property owners, when a zoning change is going to come into place or something's going to happen. I understand there's some fees involved, but I think it's well worth it. Even this development that's on Moffett by Caswell School, they're finally starting to build those 38 units or whatever. But right next door to that is this huge apartment complex. And those people weren't notified of it because they're not property owners. Every citizen of Ceres should be aware of what's going on. And that somehow or another we have to, in my humble opinion, and we have to improve that communications. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the time.
Casey, just for clarification, you're requesting that in a mail form, that the information be distributed to everyone in the surrounding area when there is what? When there is
the entire city. I'm suggesting that we have our planning commission meetings are canceled more often than they're held. So when something's coming up, I just don't understand it. Mr. Warren talked about the utility bills, up until just a few months ago, I never even saw one. My wife always took care of it. But recently I've been opening those sort of things. And in there's a color flyer. There's a flyer that tells us about different things. I don't know who prints it or who pays for it, but that could be transformed into a document that's knowledgeable to, so that people can know what's going on. Granted, our IT man changed things, and I know you, Mr. Mayor, is a big fan of the handbook or whatever, Facebook and all those other things of communication. But there's still a lot of people like me that still can't use the Facebook. And I don't know what Instagram is. So somehow or another, we need to communicate. And the whole city.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you on this one. So in general, more information in the bill. Is that the form of communication that you're requesting? He said yes. You guys can jump in.
I have a possible suggestion because the referral process would be to have the council provide direction on bringing something back for your approval. One possibility could be to have staff explore alternative or additional methods of communicating to the public to provide more than the legally required noticing. And staff would put together options for the council's consideration And again, pros and cons, are there costs associated with it? But an evaluation of the noticing processes and for opportunities to probably improve them. So that could be a possible scenario for a council vote on tonight.
Rosalinda, do you mind if I make just one quick comment? I've seen your button pressed. So it could be ranging from notifications in the mail to improving our social media presence to even involving text messaging programs that can send our constituents information. So it can be just a variety of different things and suggestions
Right.
from our staff.
The direction would be to have staff explore those options and bring it back to you for action. At this point, that's all the direction that we're getting. It's not to approve any specific method or additional costs or expenditures. It's just to bring options back to you for a possible vote.
I'll pass it to Rosalinda, but I agree with Mr. Casey.
And I agree with exactly what you had brought up as well. And going along with what Mr. Casey had mentioned regarding, Councilmember Casey, regarding the storage facility and not notifying the residents next door because they're renters. Although they may be homeowners, they don't own the land, just the home. And some may be renters. And I think that was something we had talked about before, is notifying the renters, especially if something's going in directly within a couple feet of their property, which we discussed when we were talking about the car wash as well, that wanted to go next to the gas station. And a lot of those residents were not notified that lived along that sound wall because they were renters and not property owners. And I think that was something that, and maybe it's going along with what the mayor had mentioned when it comes to just text messaging like they do with the early alerts or something that says, hey, everyone within this range in this block will get notified of something that's coming up in their area.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
I think just in general, communication outreach, definitely for the notices when there's new properties or new items that are going to be built, but general communication outreach would be good, especially because some use paper form still. They get their bill in the mail, and then there's a lot that use the social media.
Could we also add to ramp up us investing in the CERS career if we, do more ads or anything like that? Just a suggestion.
The idea would be to compile all possible options and more importantly, lay out what the legal requirement is, and that if there's anything above and beyond, those would most likely entail additional expenditures, but that's a council decision. Give you the full range of options.
Okay, so do we have kind of like a nod of the heads left to right? Okay, Mr. Casey, we're good on your item.
Mayor, you may want to open up comment.
Now, point of order. Members of the public would like to make any comments or suggestions on this item. Mr. Warren.
John Warren, City of Ceres. There's 3 social media outlets here that I pay attention to. There's one called the Ceres Community Awareness. There's another one called the Ceres Incident Feed. And there's another one, Ceres something or other. And I know one of the gentlemen that applied for the position of the Planning Commission is one of the administrators of one of those sites, with over 6,000 people that look at that. Now, some of them aren't Ceres residents, of course, okay, but they do see that. Occasionally, when I have something with the VFW or the American Legion, I'll put one of our flyers on that site, take a picture of it, put a flyer on there, and you'll get 35 or 40 comments, okay? People read that stuff. I'm not a social media butterfly. I'm like Mr. Casey, I don't know what Instagram is. I messed up my iPhone, and the young lady out at the front counter helped me get back my notes widget, it's called. I kind of messed that up before I came down here tonight, and she was nice enough to help me to find it in my iPhone world and put it back where it was supposed to be, so I didn't lose all my notes. So, but people look at that stuff. Maybe they, they don't attend the meeting here, but they make comments, and I see lots of comments on there about what our utility bills are going to be. Why isn't mine $200 a month, and so forth and so on. And that's a site that people will look at. And you can say, hey, excuse me, but your utility bill is going to be higher because we need a new wastewater treatment plant. And you can give them some information on when the meetings are going to be down here, the 218 process and all of that. And they may learn something about civics and show up and ask a couple of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Anybody else?
Uniquely serious. I'm like John Warren. I'm not into that, all that stuff. Don't throw any rocks, but I still have a flip phone. But with all the technology out there and all the things that can be received on a phone that most people use, what about the possibility of like the state of California sends out alerts to people that are signed up for emergency services, it gives them alert for, storms or earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. Could we, I know that the Public Works has, if you sign up a portal type system where you can, I guess, get alerted or go to stuff. Could we send out, and again, it's going to cost money and time, but whether it's on a weekly basis or whenever these things come up that have to be added on as far as cost or something like that, is there a possibility that people could go to the City of Ceres website and sign up for alerts to what's coming? I think that would eliminate a lot of people that wouldn't eliminate it, to give more people a chance to get informed, and they don't have to go search right away. And that information comes to them, like the emergency services for California, they could go to, there might be a link on there where they can go and read it themselves. So instead of trying to commandeer their utility bills every month, we're giving them the information so it's right there. And of course, all the other things involved, in print and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Years ago, we used to get all of our information in the utility bill, but now people get their bills online. They don't even read them. They just automatically pay it. If we had a newsletter 3 or 4 times a year that was mailed to every address, it's the one thing everybody in Ceres has, an address. It's one thing in common, an old-fashioned address. And the post office will give you a bulk mail discount. You might even be able to get 1 or 2 businesses that for advertisement would pay for it. It's just an idea. But we do need a newsletter to let people know what's going on. People don't know what you're doing. Therefore, it's like playing telephone. Somebody will say you're doing something, and by the time it gets around to all the people, you're a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry, but that's just how it's working.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Dave Pratt, Ceres. Yeah, this is a big question. And, there's, no matter how you look at it, not everybody has computers. Not everybody has emails. Like our Legion meetings, we have over 100 members, and probably less than 3/4 of those have emails. The rest of them, our leader has to mail letters. And as far as newsletters goes, I don't even read my newsletter. So, it's a question. It's hard to, try to communicate with everybody when not everybody's on the same page.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Online? Alan?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, awesome. So we will now go to number 14. And this one is, okay, Mr. Vice Mayor Martinez, volunteers for code enforcement. This one is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to point out real quick, that before I had asked for this referral, I did ask for the dog park to be brought back for us to review. I know that there's a few months where we closed it down, we renovated, we reseeded, we got the grass to grow back in. And I've heard a lot of complaints from citizens. People have even come to these meetings complaining about it. So I had asked for that as a referral well before I'd asked for this item. I just wanted to point that out real quick before I jump into item 14. So this is actually a question for Acting Chief. I know previously before you'd had a volunteer group of people that had helped your code enforcement going out, giving the preliminary warnings before an actual code enforcement officer might come out and cite. I just wanted to see, is this something that your department might be willing to do again? I don't know what that would cost you man-hours investing, having an officer have to train these volunteers or what that would look like. So I wanted to bounce that off of you. That's pretty much what this was for.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. That's a great idea. Something we could look at. I know that our volunteers in policing, the VIPs, they do go out and do some of this, and we might be able to maybe use that program to add to their numbers to help do this.
I'll take comments from the council. Councilmember Serena.
So just one question for our acting chief. So if we had volunteers for code enforcement, are they just going out and looking for issues around the city and then having a code enforcement officer actually go out? Are we going to be paying for them to go to training as well? What does that kind of look like?
Great question. So if we follow the model that we're already using with the volunteers that we have, we would provide some training. They would go out. They have the ability to write citations, although it's limited. And if we just add to their numbers, that's probably the best way we can do this, where the city doesn't incur any more liability.
Thank you. Just one more thing. Is it possible, I don't know if how other cities do it, but is there any other type of committee that we could almost form where it's not so much just like the VIPs, but another type of committee that might look out for things like someone said earlier, a bunch of residents were getting together to go look at carports and things like that. So is that also an option that we could explore? I'm just curious.
I don't know if that would be an option for us. It's a little bit outside our scope at the police department.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you. And Serena, I appreciate, because those are pretty much everything I had almost on mine as well. I guess, again, I guess with the follow-up would include like the cost, the training. I know during Christmas Tree Lane, I think I had emailed you, we ran into one of your old volunteers that is now back in the area and actually wanted to get involved. And he was kind of going over some of the highlights from when he spent a lot of years involved. And he enjoyed it and it gave him something to do, especially now that he's in retirement. But mine is the cost, the training, as well as Serena brought up. What can't they do? Because I'm sure there's a fine line between someone that's post and not post certified, just like McCann has certain limitations, since he doesn't want to go to the academy. And then as well, just throwing out there, McCann, in case you're listening to me. And then also, I know you also have the union and the POA to consider as well. So I just want to make sure we're not violating any union obligations at the same time. But I definitely love the idea. Thank you, Martinez, for bringing this forward. And whatever we can do to kind of address some of the concerns in the city with the current budget restrictions that we have would be great. Thank you.
I'll take this out to the community for any comments or questions.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to piggyback on that. Perhaps the answer is not adding more code enforcement. Perhaps the answer is maybe taking a step back and actually addressing code enforcement that addresses things like public safety, actual safety concerns, actual security concerns, things like that, instead of targeting, 4 people that have nice carports. Just a small thing.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? Anybody else online?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, if you can just make the suggestion clear, what you're asking for, and then we'll go for the nods to heads.
Yeah, can we get a referral or get an item that would show what it would look like to have more volunteers, what it would look like training, make sure that we can cover liability, and see what that entire scope of the process would look like, is what I'm asking for.
I'm good with it. Yes, on this side? Ms. Casey? We're all thumbs up. Thank you very much. Okay, excuse me. Moving on to reports. I have no reports. Any council members have any reports? She beat you to it. So, Councilmember Terrell, you're up.
Just really quick, if anyone's available tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., the Cupcake Boutique on Service Road is hosting the Ceres Chamber of Commerce Coffee and Conversation. It's open to non-members and members. So if anyone would like to come out and conversate, I think it would be a great time.
Some Councilmember Vieira.
Sorry, I turned on my mic and didn't hit the button. It's like I hit a button. All right. I just want to thank Leah for the invitation to work with the permanent local housing allocation, the notice of funding that's going to go out next week. I appreciate the opportunity to work together. I look forward. You've had some great leadership and a lot of skills you brought forward to Ceres, and I look forward to kind of watching you a little bit and learning a little bit more about this permanent local housing allocation that's coming forward. I also want to thank STEP, the Stanislaus Equity Partners, for having their free business 101 training here in Ceres. That's open for businesses. They do have monthly events here and trainings for local businesses. So if you are, please sign up or come talk to our community center about when they're out here. I know they coordinate with Joey to get a location here in the community center. So they do have that information available. Also, I think half of us at least were over at the El Concilio Meet Your Elected. It was an opportunity for community members to come forward, not just to meet council members, from various cities as well as school board members, and the community was able to come together. We talked to anyone who had any questions, and it was a great opportunity, and I look forward to having another event. And I appreciate the LPAC and El Concilio for hosting that. And then there was one other thing, and it totally slipped my mind. So we'll have to wait for next month.
Thank you. Mr. Casey? Okay. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to report that Chief Perry has officially retired effective last Tuesday.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. City Attorney.
Nothing to report tonight.
4 minutes. Seeing now. Okay, we're about to close. This is a long-winded one. We will now go to closed session for conference with legal counsel regarding anticipation litigation, Government Code 54956.9. One for potential case, a conference regarding public employment, California Government Code 54959 for the interim police chief position. In addition, we will also have a conference regarding real property negotiations for price and terms of payment, California Government Code 54956.8. Agency negotiators are City Manager Douglas D. Dunford, City Attorney Nubia Goldstein for the following properties. There is a correction in closed session item number 28. The correct address is 4619 Central Avenue, not 4916 Central Avenue. Property 0 Arthur Way, APN 127-002-047. Negotiating parties, Pedro Orozco, buyer, and Alvina Ariam, real estate agent. Property number APN 041-00901. Negotiating parties, William and Linda Menini. Property number 943 E. Grayson Road, APN 041-007-007. Negotiating parties, Marchie Derry. Property number 1367 East Grayson Road, APN 041-009-0110. Negotiating parties, Sun Meadow LLC. Property number APN 041-009-013. Negotiating parties, Phillips and Linda Yori. Property number 4849 Blicker Road, APN 041-009-007. Negotiating parties, Woods David Marion. Property number 4869 Blicker Road, APN 041-009-012. Negotiating parties, Kelly and Cindy Martin. Property number 4925 Blicker Road, APN 041-009-011. Negotiating parties, Fernando Diaz. Property number 1573 and 1607 East Grayson Road, APN 041-009-005. Negotiating parties, this is a long name, Marquez Helen. Property number APN 041-009-015. Negotiating parties, Napa Farms LLC. Property 4737 and 4749 Central Avenue, APN 041-009-003, negotiating parties, MCB Farm Holding LLC. Property 4619 Central Avenue, APN 041-009-06016, negotiating parties, Marlon and Cindy Buman. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment? All right. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Welcome back, everybody. There is nothing to report out.